Hello and welcome to Curated Spaces, the podcast that explores the stories behind spaces reimagining how we stay, work and play. Join me, Molly Cooper, as I sit down with founders, owners and thought leaders to hear about their journey of bringing a space to life. Great spaces shape our lives. They inspire, nurture and connect us. But most importantly, they bring us together to share life's milestones with the people who mean the most to us. So whether you're a traveller, foodie or design seeker, join us as we celebrate the power of spaces and the brilliant people behind them. Today I'm in the heart of Marylebone in London, where I'm sat in Home House, an incredible building with a history spanning nearly 250 years. What started out as an exclusive pleasure pavilion for the Countess of Home is now a members club that spans across 3 townhouses overlooking Portman Square. And it's a huge pleasure to introduce Andrew Richardson, Managing Director of Home House, who's going to tell me all about this space's remarkable journey and what life looks like for its members today. Andrew, welcome to Creative Spaces. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for inviting me along today to discuss Home House. So it's a pleasure.
No, it's all mine, honestly. And I can't wait to get into it. But before we do, I'd love to hear a bit about your background and how you've ended up here.
Okay, well, often I've been asked to tell my story, so I usually tell a story. It's about KP to MD. My first job, the tool that I was given was a paint scraper. And that actually was to help scrape the bottom of the dirty pots that were left for me by the chefs of a hotel that I went to work in. So it was a part-time job in my school holidays, needed a bit of money, and worked as a kitchen porter, which led me to have an interest in hospitality and go on to become a chef. So my first role I went to obviously catering college, became a chef, and that journey took me into London here at the Park Lane Hotel in the Dorchester. Then I went on to work in Paris, took me to Hong Kong, and sort of back to the UK, and eventually got involved in hotel management. So I've had jobs ranging from washing the pots through to bar work, chef work, hotel manager, and eventually here to Home House, which was pretty much a mixture of all the disciplines and the learnings of that career. So that was a very short version of my career. A lot of fun and interesting times in different establishments, but working in a members club with bedrooms, a nightclub, restaurants and bars and function space. It's just a mixture of all those disciplines.
Well, you've really tried your hand at a few things there, haven't you?
Yeah, I guess I have. I mean, obviously, hospitality. I think if you enjoy it, you can achieve and go quite far quite quickly. Obviously, you don't need a long university education. You need a lot of aptitude, a lot of common sense, a good work ethic, and you've got to be, I think, a good team member. A lot is achieved through the team. Obviously, there's lots of working parts to any large hospitality organisation, and I think it's how you fit into the team, and eventually, I guess, as your responsibilities increase, it's how you lead the team and influence the team that enables you to grow in a career, which is, in essence, it's a lot of fun, and you have to enjoy the hospitality side of it. And then, I enjoyed maths at school, so I was pretty comfortable with numbers. So turning all that fun into a profit at the end of it is ultimately what needs to be done. Yeah. And when you're running a building like this, which is obviously, as you said, nearly 250 years old, not only is it's our strength as a real asset, but it can also be one of the difficulties, because the cost of looking after a building like this it's consistent and constant. You've got a team of engineers, but the job's never done. They'll start at one end of the building, then they'll go back to the other. Certain parts of it need refurbishing. Then you've got all the electrical and mechanical side of it and the plant. So it's important that the business operates commercially in order that we can look after this historic building. And effectively, I just sort of say we are currently the custodians of a piece of history, and we're looking after it. And whilst we look after it, we we do our best to ensure that our members have a good time, right? Which is what the building was built for.
Absolutely. And I think it's so special, spaces like this one, which are still going. And 250 years after being built, it's a long time. And you walk around Marylebone and there's loads of new builds. And this building still stands here, pride of place, overlooking that square. It really gives you a picture of what London was back in the day. Would you be able to paint a little picture for people who maybe haven't been to Marylebone and give a little flavour of what this area of London is like?
Sure. I think obviously Marylebone's quite trendy these days. I think when Home House was first built, I think anything north of Oxford Street was considered a bit of a wasteland. You go from Mayfair, then there's Oxford Street, then there's somewhere else. But now Marylebone is firmly on the map, and it's a village in itself. And I think the main landowner in the area, Portman Estates, who are our landlord here, they've worked very hard to curate a space where people can live. They can obviously socialise. You've got their restaurants and their bars and their shops and and offices. So there's a real good mix and a good blend. There's a good amount of community events. Obviously, the location's very good, close to Hyde Park, and there are some parks within the neighbourhood as well. So we work very hard and sit well within the community. We run a business which has a licence till 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. So effectively, we run a nightclub in a residential area. So we have to make sure that we take care that we don't disturb the neighbours, and actually a lot of our neighbours are members as well. So to live and sit as a commercial business harmoniously in what is a residential area, obviously, is something we have to be very careful and respect. But I think, the area in itself, over the 15 years I've been here, you just see these steady improvements. And I think the importance of that is the round planning that takes place as part of, it's Baker Street Quarter is a business improvement district. I actually sit on the board as well, and it's chaired by representative from Portman Estates. But there's a long-term view, and that long-term view takes into consideration commercial businesses, residential businesses, policing, all the services, Transport for London. And it is interesting because, planning, moving traffic is always interesting. You get your specialists who understand the movement of traffic around London, and you sort of say, well, there's some great things have happened here. Traffic calming's taken place. Single roadways have been turned into to two-way. What do you do with the traffic? And of course, the obvious answer is, well, we never solve the problem of traffic in London. We just move it.
Just move it into
someone else's patch. So, but overall, I think Marylebone's become a really, really popular area. Obviously, Chiltern Firehouse, when that opened, that gave it a bit more kudos. It brought in fresh wave of sort of A-listers, probably similarly at the time when Home House first opened. It was very unique at that time, 25 years ago. We still have a tremendous amount of, if you like, celebrity members that would use the club. But Chiltern Firehouse was the new trend, and brought in a fresh wave of PR, I suppose, to the area.
Excellent. And just then when you were talking about the nightclub open till the early hours, and I thought, it's funny because back in the day, this whole building really came about because one woman wanted a bit of a party pad for herself, didn't she, in the heart of London? So could you maybe tell us a little bit about the origins of this building and how it's evolved?
Yes, well, Elizabeth, Countess of Home, affectionately known as the Queen of Hell, I believe. Although, there are no pictures of her, but she was incredibly wealthy, twice widowed in her early 60s. So in 1773, she commissioned James Wyatt to build a palladium. Effectively, it was just a building to entertain the glitterati, the royalty, glitterati of society and royalty. And that's what the house was built for. And she did that. She had soirees and parties, and she was a bit of a hellraiser, and knew what she wanted. And in fact, when James Wyatt didn't finish the job quick enough, she sacked him and hired his competitor, Robert Adam. And Robert Adam made some adjustments. He ripped out the staircase and put what is now the cantilever staircase in the centre. And that was a big architectural statement. It was the first non-suspended staircase, so it's set into the walls. And obviously, that's as soon as you walk into the building, you see that, and it is very much a wow moment. And it was up those stairs that she would, and actually on those stairs is Annie Lennox's video Breaking Glass was filmed. So that staircase up into the drawing rooms, if you ever get a chance to watch that video, that's where it was filmed. And obviously in that video, the costumes were very much the costumes worn in the 18th century, of course, when the Elizabeth would party. And she apparently would have some pretty interesting, wild, eccentric parties, and was renowned for selecting the gentleman of her choice. Ooh. And there's a secret staircase that leads up to what would have been her boudoir all those years ago.
No way.
So yes, allegedly she built the house and she used it well, and I didn't live much longer after that, but certainly I think it's great when you tell the story, particularly for a lot of our female members. This building was built, it was a lady's vision, and all we're doing is using the house really now for the vision that she had, and that was so that the glitterati of society could gather and have fun.
Yeah, and what a great vision. I love that.
It's brilliant, and I think what's nice about it is that the building is actually still being used for the purpose it was built for, which you can't say that very often today.
Definitely not. And it's kind of expanded, hasn't it? It's now spanning 3 townhouses. There's that gorgeous courtyard in the middle, which I know now has a sort of pop-up autumn-winter tent for outside soirees as well. Tell us a bit about the house now. As a members club, what kind of people come and use the space, and how do they use it?
Well, I mean, our membership is an incredibly eclectic mix, and and the values that we work to are all around unique people, individuals, bringing them together in a convivial environment, and building community. So people from all walks of life will come here, and they're treated uniquely, and we actually applaud uniqueness and colourful characters, because the eccentricity is really important. And then by simply allowing them to have fun and make new friends, then the community grows. And I always say that if people have got lots of friends and they become part of a community, they really are less likely to want to go anywhere else other than stay within their community. So of course the club is now built within the 3 Georgian houses. I think there's overall something like 65,000 square feet. Wow. We have from sort of basement up, we've got a gym, and then obviously we've got a mixture of late night space, which a nightclub situation, vibe dining. We've got several function rooms. We have restaurants, 5 bars in total. And of course we have a large walled garden, which is in its own right in the summer is incredibly unique, incredibly popular. Such a wonderful place to be. It's a sun trap. It's a peaceful oasis. And what really amazes people when they come into the building the first time, they'll pass the grand staircase, and that really is a moment when they look up and sort of wow. And then you take them through to the garden, and there's this beautiful sort of Raj tent situation, a very British quintessential summer, a fully served restaurant operation with lots of champagne and rosé wines flowing, people having a really good time. I mean, we get challenged occasionally because a lot of people who book tables for lunch suddenly realise they're having so much fun, they just don't want to leave. Consumption is very good, and it's interesting when people really get into the summer, consumption can increase somewhat, but then we're in the business of not stopping people from enjoying themselves. So that works really well. So a mixture, and I think what we can do within the houses that we have is create a different environment depending on what you would like, what the member needs on that particular day. If it's slightly more formal and sedate, they may well sort of meet in the glamorous drawing rooms. If they want something a little more eccentric and hedonistic, perhaps the partier side of the building is House 21. Or if they really just want to, look after themselves and their well-being, we might find them in the gym. Yeah.
And 2 things you said that really spoke to me was the eccentricity and the uniqueness. And it's funny because from the outside, it's quite an understated building. It's a very simple black door. And then, like you say, you go inside and there's that amazing staircase. And as you go, especially into the partier side of the building, these bright interiors, like a disco ball rhino in one of the rooms. It's really quite a special place. It sort of marries together this old and new, but that sort of English eccentricity is definitely still at the core.
Yeah, and it's so important. I think, as I say to my team, we don't want our members to come and just have an ordinary experience. A lot of us are time poor in life, so when we do have time to go out and enjoy ourselves, we want to make sure that it's memorable. And so I think we have an obligation to consistently make sure that people have fun.
Yeah.
And part of what we do, the secret is in hospitality. If someone goes to your home, you want to make sure that they have a great experience. So you're mindful of what they're looking for, and then you do your best to ensure that happens. And by doing that, by creating a little bit more fun. I mean, let's face it, if we go somewhere and it's a bit, there's a lot of serendipity, a little bit of cheekiness, and a lot of fun, you talk about it, don't you? You go and tell your friends, and everybody then says, tell me more about that. Sounds really exciting. Otherwise, if you say, I just went out for dinner. Yeah, it was okay. I mean, who wants to know about that? So it's important. But of course, these days, people have had so many different experiences. Trying to provide something different and new all the time is actually, it's a challenge that we thoroughly enjoy. And obviously we've got our Halloween party, of course, coming up tomorrow. And that is, we'll end up with 900 people here throughout the building. And it is an amazing house party, which is what it is. We're a house, and everybody dresses up. We have lots of entertainment, stage shows, cabaret, all sorts of actors, actresses wandering around, frightening people. But the biggest joy is just seeing the effort people make in dressing up and thoroughly enjoying themselves. So that's looking forward to that. And that's kind of when it gets magnified as to what happens here. But we have four big members parties a year, and I know that everybody really enjoys that.
Yeah, and I think Ella was telling me about the new joiners drinks you have. Is it monthly?
Yes, yeah. All new members are welcomed, and we try and get them together with some of the existing members. And we try to ensure that it's not corporate at all, and that there's a little bit of serendipity and something that's fun about it. I hate the idea of someone saying, we'll go to a networking event. Yeah. We all like to meet people through socialising, but we don't want to be told how and when to do it. So I think you sort of create an environment where it happens organically and naturally, and that works really well. And of course, everyone's got something in common. They're a member of Home House. So that's a nice little conversational opener anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
And if the room lends itself to being nice and social, then that helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I have to say a lot of the rooms do lend themselves very well to being very social. I think you said you had 5 bars here.
Yes.
Yeah, and they are big bars, all beautifully designed. I can see how people get carried away here. I'd love to hear a bit about the food and drink you have here for people to come and enjoy.
Well, I think, we've got a wide range of cocktails, a wide range of wines. We've got very well stocked bars. I mean, obviously, I think if there's something that's on, available, we've got that. In some areas, it can change in terms of the ambience that people are looking for. I think we've got obviously where we begin in the sort of House 19 and where the main restaurant is and the bar below. There's probably a little bit more of the sort of wines, obviously are more commonly drunk, a couple of beers in the bar, and the usual sort of, that says pre-meal gin and tonics, etc. And then, of course, as you head into the drawing rooms where people might sit and have nightcaps, obviously you might get more sort of browner spirits. You get your sort of the whiskies and your cognacs after dinners, as well as your early evening drinks. I mean, ultimately, champagne flows throughout. I mean, we've been working with Murthy Chandon for many years. It's been our house pour for many years. But we're renowned for selling a tremendous amount of champagne. We keep the bottle price sensible. And obviously, by doing that, most of the time, members aren't worried. They just order a bottle of champagne. So we'll probably shift 15 to 16,000 bottles of just house pour champagne on an annual basis.
Wow.
So because people see a lot of champagne being drunk, I mean, it's the drink of celebration. So if you walk into a room and everyone's drinking champagne, already you've decided this looks like fun.
Exactly. You're going to have a good time.
Yeah. So and I think that helps. And when people come into sort of the House 21, the House Lounge, the nightclub area, then obviously that's a mixture of, yes, bottles, champagne, vodka, lots of cocktails. again, what time of day it is, what sort of mood somebody's in. We've got a beverage that will fit all. And it's true. And I think certain trends come and go. But we've got our own gin now. We've got our own home house gin that's won some awards, and that's just been produced. I think about 6 months ago we started selling it, and I think it's excellent, and it's selling extremely well, and it comes in a very attractive bottle, but the product's excellent. And a lot of it, when it came to the flavours and within the gin, was based upon thinking about the Countess and her journey, all those years ago. So, hence some of the sort of the spices that she may have come from Jamaica, where she grew up. So there's a bit of thought going into the gin and a story, and actually, it's been very successful. Yeah.
So she lives on today, the Queen of Hell in the home house gin.
Yes. She's mentioned many occasions, and her spirit and her essence lives within the house without doubt.
I'm sure she'd be very proud of that.
Yeah, I think so. You'd hope so, wouldn't you? Yes, you've had a house built for a purpose, and it continues to operate with exactly the same purpose 250 years later.
Absolutely. And when you've had one too many champagnes or tipples of choice, you can then head upstairs, and you have some brilliant bedrooms here as well, which are individually designed, am I right?
Yes, we've got 23 rooms that obviously are all individually designed. They've been named after sort of previous occupants of the house. They come in different shapes and sizes. They're all sort of designed around sort of the Georgian era. We've got some wonderful antique baths and showers, incredibly unique, incredibly spacious. You don't get that much square footage, certainly not for the prices we charge for the rooms that the members can enjoy. They are popular. We've only got 23 of them, and obviously very, very proud of them. Absolutely, they're wonderful, wonderful rooms.
Yeah, a good place to lay your head after one of the house parties.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And of course, when we have a members' party, they're booked up in advance. Quite right.
As they should be. And you're celebrating 25 years this winter.
It is, isn't it? It's the 25th anniversary for the club, which it makes us more of an institution, isn't it? Now, I mean, in days where you'll get, particularly in hospitality, restaurants and bars, you'll have your fads. Then there'll be trends. Then quite often they don't last much longer than that. So to be 25 years old, I think we are firmly an institution, an established institution, established brand in London and known globally. I always think back to when I started here 15 years ago, and in the early days I had to get the train into Paddington, and then I would jump in a taxi and sort of ask the taxi to take me to Home House, and I could see them reflecting and thinking, I know, I used to go there, and of course it had gone off the radar a little bit. But I'm pleased to say now that when I do the taxi test now, it's not even a question. They know exactly where it is. So long may that continue. And actually, I've even noticed that we're on some of the open top bus tours. And as sometimes there's a terrace out on House 20, House 21 that looks onto Gloucester Road. And in the summer, if you're there chatting or having a drink, and there obviously you can hear the guide on the microphone, and then they're actually pointing out Home House, the members club. Yeah.
So you're part of the fabric now.
I guess so. Yes. I guess so. Yeah. No, which is great.
Which is super exciting. Well, looking ahead then, what does the next chapter look like for Home House? Is there anything you're planning or things you're aiming for in the next few years?
Well, I think a lot more of the same, and open to expansion if we can find the right buildings to expand into. We have our sister club, Homegrown, which actually only opened just before COVID and is now really finding its feet and doing very well. Which is it's a community aimed for entrepreneurs and investors and service providers. So we've got the two sort of concepts operations, and we're looking at opportunities for either of them to expand as we sort of regain momentum, if you like, because obviously hospitality had a tough time through COVID. Yeah. So it's sort of filling the coffers, strengthen up the balance sheet really, and then looking at expansion opportunities. And I'd like to see us in another world city, a New York, a Dubai, perhaps. for a large club, and then maybe a smaller outpost or two in London and a country house.
Oh, yes.
So that's sort of the grand master plan on that we're sort of in discussions at the moment.
That's very exciting.
But primarily, it's making sure that the sort of the DNA that we have here, we're running well, and that the members are thoroughly enjoying themselves.
And the champagne keeps on flowing.
The champagne has to flow. If the champagne doesn't flow, we're in a whole world of trouble.
Well, it's been such a pleasure chatting. Before we do go, I do have a quick game of Dream Spaces to play with you.
Oh.
I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
And imagine you've won the lottery, cash that check, and you let me know what spaces come to mind for you. So the first one is, where do you escape to disconnect and detox?
Oh, it's always got to be somewhere warm, exotic, where I can sort of wallow away in the ocean in nice warm waters. Let's just say the Maldives would be wonderful.
Lovely. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Good choice. Yeah. This one's slightly different. Okay. I feel like you might have some experience in this. Your ultimate birthday party, where are you hosting it?
Oh, well, I mean, I'd have to say I'd enjoy to host one here, because I could obviously have a much bigger party, probably get a good deal out of the, yes, I could probably call in a few favours and invite a lot more guests, to be honest with you. I'd like somewhere where there's a lot of space, where we can have an element of eccentricity, a few surprises, and curate something that is very memorable for my guests.
Yeah, that sounds like quite the party.
Well, it would be, for sure. I've been known to have a few over the years.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, Andrew. And finally, your once-in-a-lifetime bucket list trip. Where are you going, and are you staying anywhere special?
My bucket list trip? I think it would have to be a trip around the globe, yet to be planned. Oof. But I would love to be able to sail around the world, really. Oh. Well, my passion at the moment is learning to sail. Very I think, cool. I'm sort of thinking long term, but when I'm lucky enough to retire, then I don't want to sit and look at my garden. I want to challenge myself, and I think that challenge would initially be island hopping, learning to sail, and then maybe, if I was skilled enough, confident enough, an Atlantic crossing perhaps.
Very fun.
Yeah, I'm lucky that my wife shares the same joy, the same interest. So something we talk about, and something I really hope to be able to do at some point.
Well, that sounds brilliant. I hope you and your wife get your sailing expedition. And thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
That pleasure was mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Curated Spaces podcast. For more information and content around any of the spaces we feature, head to our website or Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to have new episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Wednesday. And if there's a special place in your life that you'd like to hear on the Curated Spaces podcast, please do get in touch, as we're always on the lookout for more brilliant spaces to share with the world.